Peace, greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, AKA Mr. Just the Facts. I was waiting for my brothers to come on, and we're gonna get to this thing tonight. Shout out to the family, shout out to everybody that's listening in. I don't know if I'm gonna wait for my bros to come on or if I'm just gonna go in. We weren't planning on staying on long tonight, but the title of this video, let me read it. BTP Presents. Is the term reparationist rooted in Pan Africanism? That's one element. The second element is a response to JAM Aiwuyor. I think I'm saying that correct. I'm not sure. So let me get into this a little bit. First, I want you all to hit the like button, fam. Share this video out. If you would like to make a contribution to our platform, you could use the super chat, or you could use Cash App by sending your contribution to the BETHEPOWER using the Cash App handle. You can also make a monthly recurring contribution to our Patreon. The link is in the description. Pretty soon, we're going to start giving out perks, etc., etc. We want to do something for when we hit our 10,000 subscriber as well. So let's make sure y'all share the family out, family. I mean, share the link out, family. We're going to talk about a little bit of things tonight as well. We're going to talk about some things tonight. So we are responding to JAM. Her name is Jessica Ann Mitchell Aiwuyor, and I'm not trying to purposefully butcher her name, so I'll just simply refer to her as JAM from here on out. And her claims about reparationists and the way that we use it, it's not something new. And we want to address the claim that this word is somehow the byproduct of Afrocentricity. Those that know us well before we started on this BTP platform know that when we dig into some research, we are going to close the case on that research. So we're going to respond. We're going to respond to both issues because I just want to finally turn the page on this chapter. Some people claim that they want to, but then when you listen, so I listened to a little live stream, and when you have people that have been doing this as long as we have, you can easily flesh out all of the little underhanded shots that are mixed in with little tepid praises here and there from people like JAM. We engage some of the followers as well. These people go and go and go and go. And when you respond and defeat every last one of their arguments, you get called the aggressor, which is akin to saying toxic masculinity. It's coming from us particularly. Those men over there are talking like men and we don't like it. And so people like JAM, who I feel are narcissistic to their core, they must be addressed. However, when you address them, somehow you become the bad guy. What does Trump, this extreme narcissistic sociopath, always say? He says the Democrats are some dangerous, nasty people. He called them the violent ones, right? It's his followers who are threatening to overthrow America, planning on kidnapping governors, mocking the death of George Floyd, downplaying every time one of our people get murdered by a racist cop. The Democrats in their constituency, they're not doing that. They're not sending bombs to their political enemies, not that I know of, unless there's some news that I'm missing. And yet, the Republican Trump supporters claim that everybody is bullying them while they are the ultimate bullies. And this is what we see with people like JAM and those who support them, which is why people like JAM will block you instead of engaging, all the while trying to reframe and control the narrative. Classic bully pulpitism. That's a term I just coined, I think. I think. You know that saying, throw the rock and hide your hand. Don't throw rocks from a glass house. Or who threw the first punch? Who took the first shot? In this particular instance, in addressing JAM specifically, she did by posting up that article by NARC, which was disparaging the ADOS movement. When confronted by ADOS on Twitter, she blocked everybody, including me. You know, we can use these things as examples. But while everybody is blocked, she got to reshape the narrative her way and make it seem as if everybody representing ADOS are the ones who attacked her. And this goes on a lot. Like, I literally witness this daily, all the time, literally, daily, all the time. How can you go back and pull the receipts if everybody's blocked? How would you know who threw the first punch or took the first shot, et cetera, et cetera? Is it fair that she can use her bully pulpit to share a one-sided narrative to the many people that will listen to her words and believe them as if everything that's coming out of her mouth is the gospel truth? I guess if you have the bully pulpit and the following, see, we just keep it official over here. We don't need thousands and thousands of people. We just stand on the truth over here. We're going to always do that. This is why we give out links. So I got to say, the sister JAM unblocked me. I'm going to be fair. She unblocked me. She responded to the tweet, and I'm going to pull that up in a second. But we got to address the fact that this is what's going on with this reparations push and those who seek to claim it for themselves. This is why the wealth data, economic positionality, etc., is constantly pointed out in the first place. Some people may confuse highlighting a thing with influencing it or trying to influence it. Weird. It's really, really weird. Poor little narcissists. Poor little narcissists. Tell the truth or shame the devil is what them old ADOS Christian women used to say. But what are these people like James's endgame? I've read NARC and in Cobra's plan. They lack a viable program. It's based solely on rhetoric. And I want to pull some tweets up from this sister. And I told her if she wanted to join, shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to all the mods, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully, if the sister wants to get on, I told her she can join me. I have no problem. I'll send her the link. Let me see if she responded. Okay. She said she'll call in if she can. We don't have a call-in feature, sister. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go to the tweet. I'm gonna go to the tweet. I'm gonna pull that up. Let me bring my bros in real quick. I got my brother Ali in the building. BTP is on deck. I got my brother Josh in the building. BTP is on deck. Brother Logic should be joining us shortly. I'm going to read this tweet and I'm going to, let my brothers take over, of course. Let me do a quick screen share because we want to address this and we want to get it out the way because I'm not going to, I've been doing this too long. And like I said in the first live stream that we did that I did delete, and people chose to keep going and going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. But we've mastered the art of argument over here. I'm just saying, we've mastered the art of argument. So I put just a little bump in the road, fam. We got to address those who are trying to throw a monkey wrench in our reparations push. for those of us who descend from American slavery. So let me see. How do I get to the whole? Oh, show the replies. So JAM says, let's get one thing straight, guys. Don't lie on me. I never said reparationist was rooted in Pan Africanism. That is what Yvette said. I said you did not coin the term and that Pan Africanists have been using it for a very long time. Matter of fact, let me see if I can blow this up a little bit more. A little bit more. There we go. There we go. That should look better. Let me see how it looks. Okay, perfect. Perfect. I said you did not coin the term and that Pan-Africanists have been using it for a very long time. This term is hundreds of years old. She said, I actually agree with your usage of the term because that is what we are, reparationists. You know, I found it odd that she unblocked me and made these tweets, but I'm gonna see if the sister want to come on. I'm gonna email her the link. She said, what I disagree with you on is your assertion that you coined it. You did not. You cannot coin a term already in usage, even if you were unaware of its existence. I don't know why I can't see I got to click on the responses to see the responses. I don't know why it's coming up like this. I cannot see my responses to. Okay, here we go. I said, oh, you unblocked me. That's good. I said to coin a term does not necessarily mean to invent it. It also means that you have taken a little known phrase and made it popular, as we have done with the word #reparationist. But we will address this tonight. And I posted a link to the Cambridge U.S. Dictionary. And she cites the link. You know, she tests my intelligence here. She says, bro, did you even read the link? To invent a new word or expression or to use one in a particular way for the first time. My response was, I did read it, which is why I shared it. Your form of arguments don't work here. Obviously, the point I meant to say I'm making is coining a term is not the same as inventing one. I am a reparationist, quote unquote, using a word in a new way for the first time. She said, again, you did not coin it. I am a reparationist isn't new either, but whatever makes you feel better. Anyways, welcome home, reparationist brother. I thought that was funny. I don't know why it's popping up like this. I cannot get all of my responses. Let me see.
I think that is all of them, man. I don't know.
No, I responded to that. What she said insofar as, let me see.
Well, see, while you're looking, I'm gonna just say this.
Yeah,
the second half of the definition. The second half of the definition is. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead, bro.
I was saying the second half of the definition is what we're dealing with, right? So basically, what you told her, and I guess this is the tweet you're looking for. You told her that it was being used as a rallying cry.
Yes, that's the one I was looking for.
And on top of that, it's being used as a rallying cry. And what I had said to her specifically on Twitter was that we use it as a hashtag, as a rallying cry, but as a hashtag on social media in a way that has never been done. Narc hasn't done that. Narc Holly has a presence on social media. And Cobra hasn't done that. She hasn't done it. And my specific question to her was, well, if you're saying that you personally have been using it before 2020, show me in any of your writings where you've used it. She pulled up a 1994 article from some obscure article from some writer that nobody even knows about, right? And says this is a Pan-African guy and he's been writing, you know, he used it in 1994. I'm like, man, it was like almost 20 years ago. And you're like, what are you talking about? 30 years ago, whatever it is. The bottom line is, I said in 2020 on social media, we popularized the word reparationist. We made it go, trend a little bit. We popularized the term I am a reparationist. You didn't do it. NARC didn't do it. Nobody else did it. We did that, right? And I specifically said BTP. I didn't say anything about ADOS because she went off on this thing about ADOS is always stealing stuff from people and trying to take the credit for it. And my thing is, I didn't say, if you look at all of the tweets, you'll see I didn't say anything about ADOS. I said BTP did X, Y, and Z, right? Real simple stuff. But she turned it into something else about ADOS and all of this kind of stuff and Pan African and blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is 2020, this is what I said, very specific. In 2020 on social media, we popularized the word reparationist. Term as well, I'm a reparationist. As a rallying cry, as you explained to her today, as a rallying cry, which and as a hashtag, something that she didn't do, something that NARC never did, something Cobra never did, but this is an actual fact. So yeah, this is a big part of ADOS ideology is taking the work of Pan Africanists and claiming the credit. But that's not what I said. If you anybody who knows what this credit is,
you said right here.
Go further
right
up.
She thought she was doing something, but there it goes. You can read what you said.
I said, do you know that we at BETHEPOWER came up with the term reparationist? You're using our word and don't even know and don't even understand who you're talking to, right? Because there was more stuff going on before this part even came up. We're the type who do live conversations. Because as a matter of fact, I was talking about it's time that we have a live debate with in Cobra and NARC, right? Because they're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, whatever, right? So that's what was going on. And then she started talking about being a reparationist, and I say, hey, we popularized that term on this social media thing. And so basically that's all it was, right? And then she took it and turned it into an ADOS thing. And it went from her saying that into this whole big thing about, oh no, ADOS this and ADOS that, and we want to separate. And like that's not even what I said. If you look at the original tweet, you'll see I said be the power. I never even used the words American slave or ADOS as an acronym. Nothing. Hashtag ADOS, nothing. So I just want to say that so people can see it for themselves. This is what it was. Very specific in what I'm saying. The stuff that I say it deliberately and very much intentionally. I don't play with the words and ADOS did this and that. I said what I said and I meant that.
Facts.
That's it. Right. And so, like I said, the second part of the definition is talking about using the word in a way that it wasn't used previously. That's exactly what we did. There was no hashtag reparationist. There was no hashtag I am a reparationist. There was no outcry, no rallying cry of I am a reparationist put out there by NARC and Cobra, any other Pan Africanist. So that's dead in the water. That's dead in the water. That's a fake argument. Period, point blank. I don't want to belabor this. You could go ahead on with whatever else you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
I wanted to add.
Oh, go ahead, brother Josh.
Yeah, I wanted to add, like, and when we say BTP came up with it, yeah, I mean, or BTP coined it. I mean, we just kind of resurrected it. But it was the people that it resonated with because the people understood what the term was referring to, who it was referring to, the context of what it was referring to, and that context was ADOS. We're talking about reparations in America when you cannot bring up the term reparations without the first thing coming to your mind being ADOS. That's the context for reparations in America, period. And if anybody tries to change that context, it's a lie, and they're just trying to use the steam for something else. So when we brought that term back from where nobody, we couldn't find any other usage of it going back for, we didn't, look, I don't want to get too spiritual, and we talked about this internally. But we just felt like that was something like the ancestors or something moving to bring that term back. That wasn't like anything that was discussed or like that's just something that just flowed from the brother. And it just vibed. So yeah, we may have resurrected the term, but it was the people, it was the ADOS people and others who actually that term resonated with and pushed the term. You know, so I don't know what the problem is with that chick, you know, in particular. But that's all I want to say, y'all. We can move on.
I want to pull this comment up real quick from Rod Tun. He said the problem is your usage of the term coin. That's a gross overstatement. Let's be real, like bro, I read the definition. I mean, to coin something doesn't necessarily mean. All right, I gotta pull
up the definition for me.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, because they think that we're making stuff up, right?
Yeah,
and
like
so
we're saying that we invented it. So let's pull this up.
Pull it up.
And I want them to see it as well. So I don't want them to make it seem like we're just pulling up something that they cannot see. I sent JAM, the sister JAM, the link. We'll see if she's gonna come on. She says she'd rather call in, but we don't have a call in.
And let me say this, bro. Let me say this.
Go ahead, bro.
Now he's saying the problem is the use of the word coin. Before it was a problem with the use of the word reparationist itself. It was connected to it was being used to replace somebody's lineage as if that's something that can actually be done, right? Your lineage is your lineage. Nobody can, you know, in the Moorish teachings, it says this: you are what your ancestors were without doubt or contradiction. And there's nobody that can change who you are unless their power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. You are what you are. It doesn't matter what word I use. Who you are is who you are. Your lineage is your lineage. So the word reparationist cannot replace your lineage because you are who you are. I don't have the power to change who you are. No one does, right? The bottom line. And so at the end of the day, the goalpost keeps being shifted, I see. So before it was the problem with the term reparationist. Then it was a problem with the term reparationist being anchored in Pan Africanism. Now it's a problem with the term coin, the word coin. So go ahead, read the definition, bro.
It says to invent a new word or expression or to use one in a particular way for the first time. Our usage of the word I am a reparationist is a rallying cry in response to the work that we are doing. Like Brother Josh just said, it's the ancestors is working through us. It just flowed. It just came out. So anything more than that is frivolous. It's fruitless. I don't understand it. But that's what, let me read it one more time. To invent a new word or expression or to use one in a particular way for the first time. This is the first, particularly on social media, it is the first time that anyone has seen the hashtag I am a reparationist. And what did they associate that with? They associated it with the movement. Okay, we got JAM on. That's great. Man, welcome.
And I wanted to say,
but hold on, George. Let's welcome the sister, and then I'm say what you're gonna say. But I want to welcome the sister for coming on. You know, some people, they like to hide behind their platforms and don't like to have conversations. And that's what I thought you did with your live stream. So I gotta give you honors for coming on. I'm gonna let Brother Josh finish saying what he has to say, and then you could come on and make your case, sister.
No, go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'll let you. Welcome to the broadcast, sis.
Hey, brothers, how you doing?
Peace, all is well.
First, I want to say thank you for inviting me. And I do believe in the ancestors too. So I think that this is a really good opportunity for a conversation. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time this evening, but I just wanted to say a few things.
Sure.
Number one, I still disagree with y'all on the term coined, but I'm not going to go back and forth with y'all on that. It's up to y'all how you want to interpret it. My biggest thing is that I just want to say I support the usage of the term reparationist because it clearly denotes the action behind the activism. And I think that where a lot of the, if you read anything that I said or watched any of my videos, I disagree with the ADOS ideology and I disagree with the terminology. But I can say when I agree with something, I agree with the term reparationist. And it is a term that our ancestors have used. Queen Mother Audley Moore, when you look at academic articles about what was written about her, she's often referred to in past articles written about her as a reparationist and books. And so it is a term that's been used for a very long time. But this is the caveat that I believe caused the misunderstanding with Yvette. Yvette is also right in that because Pan-Africanists have been using it, and you may not have seen it on social media, right? You may not. I can agree with you on that. We're not always up to par on social media. That is a shortcoming, right? However, if you look through past articles and books, the term reparationist has been used over and over again in the academe, and so it is, and specifically among Pan-Africanists and in African American history and studies and that kind of stuff. And so when others may see you using the term like that are more familiar with it, it's also been used a lot among activists, then they will connect you with Pan-Africanists because Pan-Africanists have been using the term in activism circles and in the academe. So I don't know if you saw, I interviewed Minister Ari Meredazan, who was a member of the Philadelphia chapter of NCOBRA. He's been calling himself a reparationist for years. And that was one of the first things I started with in the interview because that was at the top of his bio. I think that this is an opportunity for, if people really truly care about reparations, to put aside some of our differences to be able to at least say, I don't agree with the ADOS term, or you agree with ADOS term and I don't, whichever way, but we can agree on reparationist. Because if the point is to get reparations, which means full repair, then then we need to do that in a unified effort. Now, you may call yourself ADOS, and I, again, don't agree with a lot of components of that. I consider myself, and I am, a descendant of Africans that were enslaved in the United States, Deis, whatever. But this is not a gang war. This is not a turf fight. We're talking about the liberation of Black people. We're talking about our upward mobility, but we're also talking about our freedom. And so, which we have not fully gained yet. And so as we move forward, it would behoove us to find some type of common ground. And I do believe that reparationist is one of those terms. And if you get too caught up on that, then you have to question if the person really truly cares about getting reparations.
All right, hold on. All right, let me jump in. First,
yeah,
I want to know, how do you pronounce your last name?
Aiwuyor.
Aiwuyor. Okay. I want to ask your question. I want to ask you this question. I know, Josh, you wanted to jump in, but I just want to ask this question real quick. What is the problem with the term American descendants of slavery? And when we say slavery, we mean the institution. We don't mean slaves, the people. We mean this institution, and it's being used in a way to identify people that were enslaved, that were released, became freedmen, and subject to Jim Crow, convict leasing, and a bunch of other atrocities in the United States of America. What is your problem with this terminology?
We don't descend from any institution. We descend from people. We descend from our ancestors. For me, my ancestors were enslaved Africans in South Carolina and Georgia, and they were also Maroons that ran away from plantations. And I want to first uplift their peoplehood, their personhood and who they were. On my matrilineal side, I am a direct descendant of the Tikar tribe from that's modern day Cameroon. Mm-hmm. And so I recognize my ancestors as the people that they were, not the necessary institution that they went through. And because I want to first and foremost give honor to them and recognize them as the full human beings that the institution of slavery did not recognize them as. And so I'll never limit them that way.
Look, that's fair. That's fair, right? But so how would you use this term, disaggregate African Americans who are, I guess we could use the term native here, to the United States of America, meaning since the foundation of this country, from people from the Caribbean or the African continent, etc. How would you separate them and identify them from your point of view, or would you even do that?
I would do that for if we're talking about specific claims. And if you go to racism.org, it's led by a Black academic. I forgot her name right now, but there's a ton of different articles on it, and there's a full article about the term Deus, descendants of Africans enslaved in the United States. So it would be DAEUS, because that uplifts their peoplehood first. It also gives you the ability to marker like where they were and what place they had, and so that you can use that in a justice claim. It's very specific. And another thing about it is, by saying that they are Africans, it gives clarity on the people as to who they were, because there are other people right now that can use ADOS and take that term and say, well, I'm Native American and I technically would fall under ADOS. But I understand that part of the caveat is now, well, you have to have been recognized or considered yourself Black for the last 10 years and can show one ancestor. But to the general public, and as this thing becomes larger, it is going to cause a lot of issues because it's not specific enough.
Let us jump in here. Let us jump in here. I don't think that when anybody looks at this with reason and proper discernment can make a claim that if we are fighting for a justice claim, for reparations for a specific group of people that was harmed by the United States government from the times of slavery all the way up until now, that we can't, or shouldn't, I should say, create a criteria to know who exactly that we are talking about. I think that anybody trying to say otherwise isn't serious about reparations at all, because essentially what you're saying, and we see this on NARC's website, we see this within Cobra, is that the United States of America should then pay reparations to everyone in the diaspora. And this is completely absurd. Now, we can't erase what's still on their website right now. You reposted the article from that particular group, which leads us to believe that that's the group that you are a part of, which also leads us to believe that you also feel that this justice claim that we are fighting for as American descendant of slavery reparationists should also include people all over the diaspora. That is a sure way to get this whole thing killed, in our opinion, and in the opinion of people like Dr. Sandy Darity, who wrote the book that I have up on the screen share behind me. So, I mean, what is your response to that? And then I'm gonna let my brothers ask some questions. I don't want to hog up all the questions. While we got you on here, we know you ain't got that much time.
Number one, I would say we definitely have a right to have a justice claim, and that ADOS, if that's the justice claim that you're trying to use, it's just not sufficient enough. That descendants of Africans enslaved in the United States gives us more specificity as to which people we're talking about when we talk about people that were enslaved on this land. We were not the only people that were enslaved in the United States of America. Now, what was the second part of your question? It was a long one.
It was long. I done forgot it because I'm looking at all
hold on. Let me just respond to that one piece right there. Then we can come back. Well, I would come behind that and say, well, when you say descendants of Africans enslaved in the United States, that doesn't bake in that they're actually Americans. That doesn't have any that doesn't say that they're Americans. Like, you have to have some specificity of being rooted in America and have American citizenship. So you could be a descendant of Africans enslaved in America and then go back to Liberia. It's all kind of stuff. My son opened the garage.
Went out.
But yeah,
right.
I don't know. And plus, look, the thing is this: we have the right to to come up with our own terms and say who we are. We already have ADOS. We have already made the case for that term to be known and widely used. Why in the world would we want to come back and then confuse the people and who already are rocking with that term and with another term that doesn't make any sense, that's not rooted in Americanism?
It's rooted
And
in
real
the,
quick, before you answer, Jam, I want to say this. All right, no, Ali, I want you you come in, Ali. But even the other, let's just real quick, briefly, because you spoke about Deus. I believe I'm familiar with their platform. They're not saying the same things. The criteria as set by Dr. Sandy Darity, they're not saying the same thing at all. It's a completely different argument. It's a completely different argument. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
What I was going to say is this, right? And I've said this to a number of people in the past before with the term African, right? African is not a specific term, right? It's a continental name. When they brought people over here, they didn't bring Africans. They brought Hausa. They brought Mende people. They brought Fula. They brought whatever, right? Wolof, you name it, right? They brought a bunch of different people. Right. African Americans are a very unique group of people. We are a mixture of not only Africans, some Native American and some European. We are foundational to this thing called the United States, right? The history shows that. At the end of the day, we are just as much American as anybody else. We have the right to claim that name just as much or more so than most of these people in this country calling themselves white today. Most of these people calling themselves white today are immigrants. The majority of them are immigrants. Our people are foundational. We have just as much right to claim the American name and nationality as anybody else here. We don't have to claim some continent with some abstract name like Africa that was given to that continent by Romans.
That's not true.
The people of the continent,
that's misinformation.
The people of the continent did not. Wait a minute, hold on. The people of the continent did not get together, who speak all of these different languages, dialects of languages, and decide on the name Africa, which is a Roman construction. They did not do that. America is a Roman construction. The reason it's a Roman construction is because the Latin-speaking people, Portuguese, Spaniards, or whatever, came and gave it that particular construction. The same way they came after the Third Punic War and gave it the name Africa. That's not a name that's indigenous to any specific tribe of people, right? And if you think it is, you have to show me when all of these different people on that continent who speak different languages, deal with different customs and cultures, dialects of languages, religions, gods, everything else, all got together and decided on the name Africa. Who did that, when, where, and how?
Brother, we're not at war. So I think that what the issues you're raising are important, right? Number one, Romans also did not come up with Africa, but we can have a whole nother discussion about that later. But I want to ask you this question. Should Brazilians get reparations like from America? Should Brazilians get, if we got a reparations claim tomorrow, should Brazilians get our? So do you understand how you must understand how non-specific the term America is, because they're part of South America, right? South America, North America, it's all America. It's not specific enough. That's why if we were to say, let's say you don't, the rest of the world. No, that is America exceptionalism that has us thinking. That is American exceptionalism that has us thinking that way.
It doesn't matter,
brother. If we're trying to be specific, we must say the United States of America. Let's just be honest here.
But what does Africa have to do? How does Africa?
We came from the continent. Whether or not you agree with, okay, listen. Whether or not you agree with the word Africa or how it came to be, just like you used the word America and had nothing to do with how that came to be, The point that I think we're both making is maybe neither term is specific enough. But the country that we live in is the United States of America. America itself is not specific enough. And I'm telling you that when it gets into law, forget how we personally feel. When we get into law and legal definitions, you have to say United States. Go and look at federal lawsuits. Look at federal lawsuits. I'm telling you, it says the United States versus. It says so and so versus the United States. We're talking about the United States. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right.
But let me just wrap it up here, because what I want for y'all to take from this conversation and myself is we are not at war over reparations. And I think that the interpretation of what Cobra has listed on their website is faulty. And I really wish that there would be an opportunity to talk to some of the folks at Cobra in a non-contentious way, because that is not what they are saying. That is not at all what they're saying. And I think it's just a way in which the wording or the terminology is placed, but we still as a people are working through our own terminology, right? We still have not settled on specific terminology for all of us, and that'll take a long time. I don't know if we ever will, but just like you find fault in the term Africa, a lot of people will find fault in the gross generalization of America, and you might not agree with that personally, but in the legal sense, that is where it's going to be a problem, and there will be people that take advantage of that. There'll be people that take advantage of it.
I want to do this real quick, and I'm gonna let my brothers respond. I have America pulled up on the screen. This is the United States on the wiki page, and the demonym for the United States. Oh man, I went too far. The demonym for United States is American, and it gives you the definition of a demonym. A demonym, or gentilic, of a clan or gens, is a word that identifies a group of people, inhabitants, residents, natives, in relation to a particular place. So although Brazilians are in South America, they do not call themselves Americans. The demonym for Brazil is Brazilians. The demonym for Argentinians, although they are in South America, for Argentina, the demonym is Argentinians, etc., etc. So, and this is why we feel that discussions and debates around this issue of reparation, wording, usage is important, because we feel, and this is why my team and I, we come out of the Moorish movement. We're different from a lot of other people that think along the Moorish lines. We've seen this and said this makes sense because we've already understood these things coming in. So, I'll let my brothers speak to that, and we'll come back around to you, sis.
Yeah, I wanted to say on in Cobra, we've already heard in NARC as well. We got to put them up in there. We've already heard people who represent them from the top say that they want, and on the website and also through linking through M4BL website, that they want reparations to go to all Black people in America. That's including people who might have got here yesterday or last week or last year. So like they've kind of made it to where they don't want any specificity. And that's where that kind of language, especially if you're talking about, we're going to have to be very specific when it comes to law. That kind of language is a quick way to get it easily dismissed, discredited, demonized, and destroyed, and that's not what we need. So we don't need those people to say that in public. We don't need them to say it in private. We don't need them to believe that. We don't need it to be on their website. We need that to be, if we're going to fix any issues with them, which I don't know if we can, but hopefully. But it's going to start with them coming back and correcting that, because that is that's like you're saying that you don't even want reparations to get listened to seriously, and if you're the person in the organization running it, and you're saying that, it's a terrible look. It's a terrible look, and it's a huge disservice to those people whose ancestors, who descend from slavery, and whose ancestors deserve justice and are under like the huge wealth gap that we're under today. So I mean, I don't know. We can't misrepresent them in saying that that's not what they're saying when that's exactly what they're come out, not only in their website but what they're saying out of their mouths. So I wish they didn't say that. I wish they had better words and better messaging, better intentions. I don't know what their true intentions are because I haven't spoken to anybody personally, but I can only go from what I see, what I read, and what makes sense to me, and that hasn't been cleared up.
Ali, wait. Let brother
too,
Ali
Josh.
come in real quick.
Let me just say this real quick. We have faith in the criteria. The criteria clears up a lot of the issues, right? We're not talking about going into anybody's courtroom where it's going to be the United States versus anybody. That's not even the issue, right? It's not a court case. Court cases that have been taken into court based on reparations claims have been dismissed, right? And they've been dismissed and told that the issue raises so much of a political question that it can only be dealt with by the legislature and executive branches of government. So what we're trying to look for, a reparations program by way of the legislature, by way of Congress and the president to sign off on it so that we can get a real comprehensive thing going. At the end of the day, the criteria takes care of a lot of the things that you're saying you're concerned about in terms of specificity. In the criteria, it doesn't say American descendants of slavery. That's just what we're calling us. That's just a name that is being used right now in terms of identifying a specific group of people who have a lineage that links them back to the institution of Negro chattel slavery. But at the end of the day, the criteria is what will answer a lot of those questions in terms of specificity. Are you Black? Did you identify as a Black person on legal documents? Do you identify as African American, Negro, colored, right? Any of those things. Do you have ancestry that ties you back into 1865 or beyond? Going back. See, everybody can't do that. It doesn't matter if you're from Argentina, if you're from Brazil, if you're from the African continent. Everybody's not going to be able to do that. Those of us who can go through ancestry.com and other court documents, or go to the libraries down in the South, or the county record, the county clerks down in the South that may have some of this information on your family. Those of us that can do it are the ones who are going to be able to do it. Everybody's not going to be able to do it. So it doesn't really even matter if you think it's not specific enough by calling us Americans. The fact of the matter is we are Americans. Like I said before, we're Americans. We're just as much or more so Americans than anybody else. The criteria will take care of any non-specific things that you're concerned about. I just want to say that.
Go ahead, Sister Jam.
Okay, thank you. So the fact that we even arguing about this lets you know that, and we're not arguing, but the fact that we're still having these conversations 400 plus years later lets you know we've never really reached full American citizenship. Now, we can argue whether or not we have the right to call ourselves American. I'm not that pressed about it because I'm more interested in acknowledging myself and my ancestry as African. However, we have not reached full American citizenship. And that is something to be debated about whether or not we are truly American or ever truly has been American, even with the 13th Amendment, and we're still enslaved in mass incarceration. The wealth gap, which they could cut a $80,000 check each to every one of us tomorrow and it still won't be closed. And police brutality and all the other different things and issues that we're dealing with. One could argue whether or not we ever really became true Americans. And many of us, especially those of us among the Pan Africanist circles, are not really that enthusiastic about it anyway, concerning American imperialism and how the systems of global oppression work in terms of the United States of America. But getting back to the point of in Cobra, I think that is an issue that is going to require multiple discussions because, again, we are not at war, right? Like, if we all care about reparations, we may disagree with how we go about it, but this is not about being at war. On just like the surface level of the reparations movement in general. Then when we get to the demonym, I can't even talk tonight. When you go into a courtroom, we don't use demonyms. Like, we just don't. The United States federal court always emphasizes the United States for that very purpose. And we can argue among ourselves whether or not Canadians call themselves American or Brazilians call themselves American, but when you go into a federal courtroom, and I have experience with this, having been the senior director of communications at the National Fair Housing Alliance. When we sued HUD, we sued HUD of the United States of America. When you look up all those federal laws, it's the United States of America, because we have to be specific in the courtroom. So whether or not we want to say we have a claim for calling ourselves American or not, that's just not how it works in terms of specificity, in terms of legal documents.
I wanted to stop you real quick. Just please hold that thought. But I wanted to stop you. You know, just using the precedent that's already been set, right? Japanese Americans. They didn't say Japanese United States citizens. They said Japanese Americans. That's the ones who receive reparations
they said,
already.
Brother. They said Japanese. They could have not even said the Japanese, if you want to emphasize that. But they said Japanese in order to show where they originally came from. They were technically Americans, right? Right. But they said Japanese. Why?
But they didn't say United States of America.
Yes, when you go into lawsuits, go look up the lawsuit.
All right. Look,
and the second point I wanted to make was it's a congressional issue.
No lawsuit.
So it's a congressional issue. It's not having anything to do with any courts. So that's reparations is going to come through Congress, not through no lawsuit in a courtroom or in federal court or whatever the case may be. It's going to be the Congress enacting legislation that's going to move the government to appropriate funds. That's the only body that's even authorized to do that. So I don't know, like Congress can act and make whatever legislation it wants to make, you know, from that standpoint. You know, we can call ourselves coloreds. We can just say it's going to give it to all the coloreds, as long as they meet this criteria, as long as you're able to, you know, demonstrate that you have an ancestor who was enslaved in the United States. And if you're able to, we can put whatever legislation we want and have people to be able to meet those qualifications, and they can qualify. So what we were talking about, like American descendants of slavery, that's not even a prerequisite to be on that we're calling for to be a qualification. So I don't understand even what the argument that you're making I want to understand, but I don't understand it.
Jam. I just want to real quick, and I'm gonna let you respond. I want to read something to you. It's real short. It comes from the book From Here to Equality, written by Dr. Darity and A. Kirsten Mullen. It is a book on reparations. This is coming from page 322. Dr. Darity and A. Kirsten Mullen states, the invoice for reparations must go to the nation's government. The U.S. government, as the federal authority, bears responsibility for sanctioning, maintaining, and enabling slavery, legal segregation, and continued racial inequality. Specifically, the invoice should go directly to the U.S. Congress, the legislative branch of the national government. Jurisdiction over the matter of Black reparations should be removed from the judicial system for three fundamental reasons. And I'm not going to go into the reasons, but when you look up I think it's the Perlman case, Ali, am I saying that correctly? Where they dismissed it, the judge dismissed it and said that this isn't a judicial issue. This is a legislative issue. And I could be saying the name wrong.
They combined a number of reparations cases. They combined a number of them and dismissed them all together. There was a number of cases that were filed in the federal level, dismissed all of them together, said that they did not have standing to sue because they were not the actual harmed or injured parties, right? They weren't direct descendants of the enslaved people themselves. It was a few reasons that they dismissed it, and it said something about a statute of limitations and blah blah blah. But the bottom line is, it was all dismissed, and they said it was based on the fact that it raised too much of a political question for the court system to deal with. And it does. If you think about how comprehensive a reparations program must be, it can't be dealt with in the court. Can't do it that way. It's too big of an issue to be dealt with in the court. But go ahead, Jam. Go say what you was gonna say.
There were lawsuits concerning Japanese internment. I mean, there's still ongoing court issues concerning Japanese internment. That's one part of it. And I think that, again, we're all working through the different avenues of reparations. And some of it is local efforts. Some of it is through the courts. And yeah, you are right about the part about the statute of limitations. That's one of the core issues. And that is what me and Minister Ari Moredazan talked about when he talked about being specific about the fact that we are still dealing with the after effects of enslavement as the descendants of Africans enslaved in the United States and trying to build that connection. However, I do think that the courts are probably not the courts. The judicial system is probably our best shot. However, it's going to be hard to get there if you continue to punch down on the Congressional Black Caucus, because they're the main ones, whether or not you like them, they're the main ones pushing the issue. What we need to be doing is pushing for other congressional members who are not Black to sign on, because those are the ones that are more hesitant to support HR 40. And I know y'all have some issues with HR 40 or whatnot, but those are the people that are more so the issue than the Black Caucus. But I have to go now. Either way, I do think that this is an important discussion.
Yes.
And I'm glad that we're having it.
Yes. Yes.
I'm a descendant of Africans enslaved in the United States, and that's what I'm going to be.
But look, we are too. We are too.
Okay, cool. So, but I think that what is needed is, I mean, there's so much that can be said, but I think what is needed specifically in the term, since we were talking about the term reparationist, is that I think that that is something we can agree on. And I think that people that are serious about getting reparations and getting our full repair, not just cash payouts, can center on the term reparationist and move forward from there. But I have to go now. Thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you came through.
Yeah.
You know, people don't usually do that. They stay away from the heat and the smoke. So I gotta give you props on that. I definitely have to give you props for coming through, sis. And I would love to have you on for some future debates around this topic. If you could get somebody from NARCO and COBRA to come on, we don't have to yell and scream and shout at each other. At the end of the day, the facts are going to bear themselves out. Research can be done meticulously. It can be done meticulously. We can take things outside of our own opinions and what we think and what we feel, and just look at what the definitions, the meanings, the historical precedents or antecedents that has been set, et cetera, and then we can go from there. But I believe that the conversation definitely / debate definitely needs to be had. Thank you, sister.
Thank you. I think if we have one, I know y'all don't like this, but we need one on the issue of disinformation, because whether or not folks want to admit it, the hashtag is being hijacked and used for purposes beyond certain people's control. But that's all. And I know folks don't want to listen to Shireen Mitchell, but her research is correct.
Come on, man.
All right.
No, you can't run off on that one. You can't run off on that one. Come on now.
I'm just joking. But I'm serious about the disinformation thing. But we can discuss it more later. But again, I agree with the term reparationist. I think that's something we can agree on.
Okay, sis.
All right.
That is funny.
Okay.
So hey, Josh, she just went digital sister on us, Josh.
Oh man, come on.
That's funny.
I will say this, hey, bro, can you share this screen real quick? I don't know if she's gone yet, but I want her to see this, because this is something that I actually said to Yvette online when she made the claim that the word reparationist was anchored in Pan Africanism, right? What I wound up doing was pulling up a source from 1860. It's a book entitled what is it called? The Public Life of Captain John Brown, with an autobiography of his whatever, right? I can't see the whole title. But anyway, it's about John Brown, published in 1860, which is the year after he was actually murdered. And so let me just read to you what it says in terms of the context in which the word reparationist was being used in America.
Can I give you a little bit more context on that? Sorry, brother. Let me just, the guy that wrote this, I believe that was John Brown's publicist. He was like a Irish immigrant that came to the United States. I can't remember his full name. And if I find it, I'll send y'all the article. But there was a man that was an Irish immigrant. And when he came over here, he wrote like in newspapers, he interviewed enslaved Africans, and he was also John Brown's publicist. And that's one of the earliest mentions that I could find of reparationists. So when
James Redpath,
right?
Yes, that's him. Thank you. So when I did my research, yes, that's the oldest actual reference to the term itself. So that's why I was being specific when I said I never said it was rooted in Pan Africanism. That is what Yvette said. I said that Pan Africanists were using it for a very long time. But yes, it was Redpath that is the oldest usage of the term that I found.
Understood.
Yeah. So
let's just look at.
Wait, let him read that real quick, Josh.
All right.
Just for the people who didn't see what occurred or took place on Twitter, says this: of these two parties of liberators, John Brown and Kagi were the captains. The old man's force consisted of 12 men, Kagi's company of 8 only. The slaves were to have been removed to Texas on the following day. Captain Brown went to the house of Hickland, the master of JAM, and liberated that Negro and 4 others. He then proceeded to the house of Isaac John, another slaveholder, and released 5 more. John was taken prisoner and carried into the territory to prevent an alarm being given. John Brown was not merely an emancipationist, but a reparationist. He believed not only that the crime of slavery should be abolished, but that reparation should be made for the wrongs that had been done to the slave. What he believed, he practiced. On this occasion, after telling the slaves that they were free, he asked them how much their services had been worth, and having been answered, proceeded to take property to the amount thus due to the Negroes. So as you, in my point to her in pulling that particular source was to show that this is pre-Pan Africanism. This is 1860. There's another source that 1859. I don't have that one right here in front of me, but it was another one dealing with the abolitionist creed, right? And in there, they broke down the fact that John Brown and others were also reparationists, meaning they were people who believed not only in that the crime of slavery should be abolished, but that reparations should be made for the curse of slavery, right? So at the end of the day, the point that I only was trying to make in bringing this up was to let people understand that this word, as it's been used in the United States, predates Pan-Africanism in the United States. I don't even know that Pan-Africanism existed at this point. I doubt it, right? I doubt it. So
it did.
This thing is not something that's contrary to our plight in America. This particular source is showing that as used in the United States, it was specific to our plight. It didn't have anything to do with the diasporic struggle against white supremacy. Our particular tribe of people here. That's all I wanted to say. So you could go ahead and speak on that, sis, if you want.
Yeah, so I was fully aware of Redpath writing about the term reparationist because, like I said, he was the publicist for Brown. And so that's why when I made my comment about whether or not you all coined it, that's where I was coming from. But I used one of the articles from Ali Missouri because and I know one of you mentioned him as some guy, but no, he really is a big time academic Pan-Africanist, well known and established. in the academe. And so what I think that's what Yvette is getting to when you use that term, because Pan-Africanists like Ali Missouri have used it before, and Queen Mother Moore, it's going to draw that connection. But yes, it predates all of us right now, and it's definitely a term that's been used for over 100 years. So if that's why I said I don't really see it as a battle over the term reparationist, who gets to use it. I see it as something that all of us can use.
Yes, I agree with that. All of us can use it.
But
however,
now I really
we have to agree on. We really just have to agree on the context. Oh, my bad, sis. But yeah, if you gotta go, we appreciate you coming on.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Y'all have a good night.
Sister. Peace.
All right, peace.
Let me add this. Let me finish my thought. We can all use the term reparations. I mean, even like, I think the fact that we saw James Redpath using it, John Brown using it, we're trying to conjure up the spirit of those even Europeans who or white, quote unquote white folks, or whatever you want to call them. We're trying to conjure that spirit back up in them to be reparationists, to actually fight for ADOS reparations. So see, what I'm trying to get clear is the context of the word reparationist only works for ADOS. It's always been for ADOS. That's our term that's been meant for us. And so if we want to use the term reparationist, we're not going to use it without clarifying that it's only going to be ADOS getting reparations. Reparations are going to those people who meet the criteria as outlined by Dr. Darian on ADOS101.com/roadmap to reparations. Like that's what we have to come to agreement on. If we can't come to that agreement, like, because otherwise it's kind of slick, because it's basically saying, yeah, we all meaning the same thing. No, we got to be clear on what we mean. Like we're talking about justice for our people. We're not talking about including people who, if included, would constitute injustice, and if presented to a body of Congress that is trying to, we're saying we want this legislation to be passed, will be easily, kicked to the curb and laughed at, like, and they won't say nothing until it's time. They won't say nothing. They'll just wait till it gets down. They're like, "What are y'all doing? Y'all got to be crazy," and just laugh us out of the room. And then what do? We wasting time. We wasting time just to say "I told you so" because we want to feel good. We Pan Africanists. Nah, we trying to be serious over here. But go ahead, bro.
Wait, real quick, Ali.
Let me say this before you.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, all right. Well, this is she said the guy was well. No, I was going to say about in terms of. I think you got a delay, Ali.
In terms of all right, you go ahead.
Yeah, I think you got a delay. No, go ahead, Ali.
You can read it.
All right, I'm not gonna read it. I'm just because she said, he's a well-known Afrocentrist. So the Professor Ali Mazrui, I believe I may be pronouncing that correct, from white abolitionists to black reparations, which is basically a summary of the works that's referenced. So we found this. This is what we do. We research. This was 2008, September 3rd, 2008. To be a well-known Afrocentrist, man, this dude only got 1 like and 2 comments.
Yeah, y'all gotta support him. Y'all Afrocentrists, y'all gotta support him, man. You can't just let him be out here with 1 like, and he's supposed to be well-known. Come on,
not with 1 like, y'all. Step up.
Don't leave your man hanging. Well, I hope the sister didn't look it up and didn't even like the post. Come on, y'all gotta like the man post. Share it. Come on. I mean, hey, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, Ali.
It's an obscure piece, right? It's an obscure piece coming from a writer that probably nobody really even knows about, right? And so, no disrespect, man, but at the end of the day, nobody, like you showed, nobody even acknowledged the fact that this man put that thing up 12 years ago. Right on Facebook. And like when I asked her to show me, right, because this was a specific thing, right? I don't want to get too far away from what it was. When I asked her to show me anybody else's usages of it, had to go all the way back to 1994, right? Back to 1994 to this article that nobody even knew existed.
Now you said something interesting.
You know, I mean,
1994. Was there Twitter? Was there hashtags?
Nah.
That was my point. That was my point. I'm saying specifically in this space right here that we're in on social media and in terms of pushing for reparations in a way that with the type of excitement that is in this country right now, it hasn't been used like that. It wasn't used as a rallying cry like Brother Naheem said. That's very significant. It wasn't used as a rallying cry. Whether or not Queen Mother Moore, you know, Professor Ogletree, whoever it is, doesn't matter. If they use that term at some point in time, that's fine. But that does not mean that they popularized it. We're saying we coined it in the second sense of the word, which means to take a phrase or something that already existed and use it in a way that it hasn't been used before, i.e. as a hashtag, i.e. as a rallying cry, you know what I'm saying, i.e. I am a reparationist in an actual phrase, right? That's just the fact. It wasn't used like that. But again, I think we already made this point, bro. Like, I don't think anybody has beat us up on this thing at all.
We'll take L's over here. We don't do that.
Yeah. Well, part of it is, you know, not getting into something that you don't already have the answer to. You know, not asking questions you don't already have the answer to. But you look, I wanted to say this too. How many former Pan Africanists do you think are in the ADOS movement today? Do you think? And I won't say the hardcore, die hard, like I'm a die Pan Africanist, whatever. And I'm talking about people who may have been sympathetic to some of the Pan Africanist views, or may have considered themselves quote unquote Pan Africanists at some point in their life. Would you say you think it was probably several?
Yeah,
a lot.
I would.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, including myself.
Because
including myself.
I was that. And I don't necessarily have a problem with Pan Africanism. Like I want to be. Let me say that I don't have a problem with Pan Africanism. I just don't think that is the foundation or the root of our claim for justice in the United States for Negro chattel slavery and Jim Crowism. I don't see how that helps us, because like we pointed out on a number of shows in the past, those people haven't done anything to help us. Even with when it came down to the Civil War, we fought that Civil War along with the white people in this country who fought that Civil War. It was no Africans that helped us do that. And then when it was over, none of those kingdoms came to claim us, right? Even to this day, none of them are really offering any true form of citizenship. She's saying we're not citizens here, really. You're not citizens there either. None of them are offering you citizenship. I'm not talking about the right of abode and the right to lease some land for a specific amount of time. That's not what I'm talking about. Nobody's actually saying this is your home. You have just as much right to be here as everybody else that is native to this place, because this is where you came from as a quote unquote African. Nobody's doing
and
that.
Then
Nobody's.
And then you get to the point of the idea of repatriation. No, we the patriots. We don't need to be repatriated nowhere. And who's going to what country has already said that they will consent to that? That's nonsense. But the point I wanted to make about how many of us here would consider ourselves Pan-Africanists is I can't really read any document from the 90s or the 80s and try to make that relevant to today as far as what position that person would take towards ADOS, because you got to give them the space to like embrace ADOS, to give them a chance to embrace it or reject it. Now that ADOS has come, everything has changed, because it's a whole lot of people that didn't see things from that perspective. The demographics of America has changed. We've got more time to see data, and we have access to the data So you can see the delineation, you can see the trajectory the country is going, you can see that affirmative action didn't uplift nobody, you can see the failure of politics, all these things that happened since the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, and all this kind of, a lot of Pan-Africanists will look at all of that and see once they hear the ADOS message, they leave all that stuff behind because they understand that it's immaterial to our salvation in America. It's immaterial. So that's why I wanted to make that connection. I can't read something from 1994 and say, well, try to use it as a way to say, well, he wouldn't be an ADOS reparationist. No, anything that I read from a Pan-Africanist from the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, when you have to run them through ADOS, they have to be able to hear the ADOS message and answer for it. And a lot of them have already done it and made the decision and left it alone and is running with this. And that's just what it is. So hey, that's why you didn't see the term being used widely at all in any circles or any major publications until, or surely not no social media until a few months ago.
Exactly. I mean, I'll peel the layers. I love to peel the layers back. Or if I'm trying to tell people, we've been doing this for a minute, man. We're no lightweights here. We have mastered the art of argument. I could have really went in, but I respected the fact that the sister came on, and hopefully in the very near future, we could have some debates. One thing that she said struck me outside of the problematic stuff. I mean, did she really bring up Digital Sister though? That was funny. But I said her facts was right? I was like, what? Oh God. But she said that some of the information that I don't know if she said in Cobra as well, has on their website is problematic. And I think that if that's something that you see, then because we see it, we've broken it down here on this particular platform. And if the sister is still listening, she could go back and watch one of our earlier videos that we did dealing with citizenship. I don't have the title offhand, but it basically, and I'll pull it up in a few minutes, but it's basically talking about breaking down ethnicities in the United States of America, right? Use that term again, disaggregation, to disaggregate blackness. So who are the African Americans? Who are the Nigerian Americans, Liberians, Jamaicans, Haitians, et cetera, et cetera? Same thing for white people, as they're called here. Who are the Germans? Who are the Italians? The et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think we really went in on that video, and that video may actually help that sister come to a better understanding. This platform was designed so that we could teach and extend the things that we've learned. I also seen they was having a panel discussion. I don't know if she shared, somebody sent me a screenshot, but it says something about the Moorish movement. It said we're not Moors, Hebrew Israelites, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I looked at that and laughed because I was blocked then, so I couldn't directly respond. But even in coming out of the Moorish movement, I'm a Moorish American. The difference between me and a lot of people that you come across that claim to be Moors, and not just me, every last one of my brothers at BTP, is that we're going to school you. And when you get finished doing any debate with us on that topic, just like if it's on ADOS or wealth data or whatever, you are going to be schooled because we deal with the historical facts. We deal with contemporaneous information. I got all of this research. I got all of it. I got the word Moor being used in the records of South Carolina, in the records of North Carolina, in the records of Virginia. And that's just to throw that out there to the sister in case they have another one of those discussions where they feel that the word Moor, for instance, I can't speak for no other group, is somehow an abrogation of the word African. But my brother Ali just broke that down perfectly because it's true. That CA at the end of Africa and America It's Roman. That's a Roman suffix that denounces place of or country. It's just as simple as that. So,
yeah, I wanted to say this the Shireen Mitchell thing too. Come on, you can't be serious. You can't be serious. You cannot be serious.
That was funny. That was funny.
I mean, we did number one. We don't even have to do that. Y'all can go back and look at some old videos dealing with that. I'm sure a lot of people in the chat can clean anybody up on that. You can go look on Twitter and already get that. But you know, like something, it's that attempt failed. That attempt to discredit us and all that failed. That failed miserably, and that's something like you gotta that information. You can't. All right, so look, you can't accuse us for misinformation and disinformation and all this kind of stuff. And that's already been debunked and disproven. Then if you're repeating it, then you're giving misinformation and disinformation against the ADOS movement. So that has to be said. You have to. I mean, at some point it has to stop. But you know, I don't know. I don't know when a person is going to stop those type of allegations that have already been disproven. Especially like, I mean, look, especially being a Pan Africanist, and we find out that Ghana has a bunch of Russian troll farms. That's a bad look. That's a bad look. So anyway.
Looking at the comments,
I saw something recently.
Go ahead, Ali.
I saw something recently where I think it was a tweet. Excuse me. A tweet from either Narc or Cobra. I think it was Narc that was talking about, it said some disparaging stuff about ADOS and being divisive and stuff like that. I think that's a conversation or debate that needs to be had, just like she was talking about, you know, the use of the word Africa versus American. There's something else that we need to talk about with them. This whole idea of divisiveness. I'm not talking about, you know, God damn. When they, what's it called, man? When they tell you you're anti-immigrant, what's the name of it? What's that word?
Xenophobia.
Xenophobe. I'm not talking about being xenophobic or defending xenophobia, but in terms of the specificity and outlining who it is that should be a qualified beneficiary of a reparations claim for Negro chattel slavery and Jim Crow, you have to be specific there, you know, and people got to be able to come to grips with that and come to terms with that without having to use the ill logic of calling people divisive just for doing that, for having the wherewithal to understand that you have to do that. One of the points that white people in this country have raised over the years is, who's a descendant of slave? Who's a descendant of slaves? Who would get it? Because, you know, they know that there are a lot of quote unquote black people who have immigrated here to the United States voluntarily. And so when they're thinking about reparations, they're thinking about their tax dollars. Now, we know that we're not talking about their tax dollars, but this is what white people are thinking. And so they're thinking, if you enlarge who is black in the United States, that means more of our tax dollars are going to go out to all of these people. And a lot of them are not even descendants of slaves in the United States, right? They know that. They know that. So in order to satisfy this argument, as we're pushing for national and public support, and I'm not saying everybody in the nation has to support the justice claim, but we do need support. This is why we keep talking about allies. We do need that support. So as we're pushing for allyship and that support, these people have to be made to understand that we're not trying to enlarge this to include everybody under the moniker. This is all about
Ali, you having some
those who were enslaved in Negro chattel slavery in the United States. Or yeah.
No, you was having some
going in and out, right?
Connection issue. Yeah. But you good now. You're good now.
But you could go ahead. Oh, okay.
No, I mean, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's just a thing of we have to make all of this stuff very clear for people, because it's not just us. We're not just talking to us. Like, we're not just going back and forth with members of NARC and members of NCOBRA. We're actually talking to America at large when we're talking about who we are as a specific tribe in this country, right? So when we start talking about who is a descendant of slaves, and we can tell them, like, yeah, see, here's the criteria. The criteria is very, very important, because it answers and it deals with a lot of the problems that people are having, whether it's with the name, you know, who's black, you know, whether or not you think immigrants are going to shoehorn themselves into your justice claim, whatever the case is, that criteria takes care of a lot of the problems. So if we really stand on the criteria, we would understand that we don't have to really argue with a lot of people about a lot of things we wind up arguing with them about, because as long as we can get that criteria in there, we should be good. Now, I think NARC and NCOBRA have a problem with the criteria because they want to include all black people in the United States. That's where the problem lies, and that's the thing that we need to have a debate with them about. There's no escaping that. At some point, if you're claiming to be a representative of Black America and you're making these kinds of deals, whether it's trying to push through HR 40 with that type of language, whether it's trying to push through AB 3121 with the California bill with that kind of language, or any New Jersey bill, or any bill in Illinois, or wherever.
Washington, D.C.
Exactly. If that's what you're trying to do as a representative of the people, when we never voted you in to be our representative, then you need to talk to us. You can't just do that without us having something to say about it. That's all right. I got to say.
Yeah, those are fatal disagreements. There's certain disagreements we can have, and we can, but that's a fatal disagreement. Like, that's not compromisable. What you're talking about is killing reparations for ADOS. So you can't do that and not have to answer for that. You're just operating in the shadows. Come on out of the shadows. Let's have a conversation. Come on, let's have a conversation, because we need to understand this thing. We need to understand why is it that y'all got y'all trying to have local reparations without adding language in there. First of all, the problem is using the language of reparations, because reparations should be about closing the racial wealth gap. If it's not about closing the racial wealth gap, that I don't even know why you should use reparations. That has to be a minimum requirement of a reparations program, and that can only be done on the federal level. That cannot be done on the local level. It cannot be done on the state level. So what you want the local and state level to do is to agree to put pressure on and advocate to the federal government to do reparations. If you want to do something, you want to fix some of the systemic problems and the historical bad language and bad policy. Look, what California did with I won't even, AB 3121 is cool. Prop 16 is powerful. We're talking about, like, in making it to where the language gets corrected, to where it opens it back up for ADOS to have a lane for inclusion. That's powerful. Like, salute to everybody, ADOS LA, that worked on that. And it's unfortunate, actually. I want to say this too. It's unfortunate that we was dealing with those internal battles that we were dealing with a couple weeks ago, and on to last week, because at that time, that legislation was getting passed and signed into the law by the governor of California. And we should have been highlighting and I would say celebrating, or at least giving coverage to that issue. But instead we would dealing with what we were dealing with. I don't want to even go back to that. But things like Prop 16, that's something that should be, if you want to talk about reparations, just do stuff like that. That's stuff that the state can do, but the state can't do reparations. Only the federal government can do that, because you need the federal government to issue trillions of dollars from the U.S. Treasury via the Federal Reserve.
The aggregate of all state. I was going to read that out loud, but
good. All right, put it up.
The last comment. The aggregate of all state and local coffers, $350 billion, not even a down payment. Yeah, that sounds like the number that Donald Trump put out in terms of his platinum plan with the amount of loans and debt that he's trying to put black people in. You know, that doesn't, you're talking about, man, that's not even making a dent. You know what I'm saying? That's not even making a dent. So they don't have the capacity, like Brother Josh is saying, they don't have the capacity to do what needs to be done. You just don't, not at the state and local levels. They don't. And the good thing about AB 3121 is that they put the language in there that this was whatever it is that bill is designed to do, which is, I guess, create a commission, is not something to try to negate a federal reparations program. And so that's very important. I think that kind of language needs to be in any local or state initiative, whatever it is that they're trying to do on these, you know, these different levels of government. You need to have that kind of language in these bills and initiatives and stuff. You know what I mean? So is there anything else we want to talk about to go into tonight? I had a video that I wanted to share of Byron Allen on the last Griot piece that they did, conference that they did, where they were talking about reparations. Ice Cube brought up reparations, and they wound up having a very interesting dialogue. And what Byron Allen wound up talking about was supporting financially through donations, supporting people who are running for office so that we can get the type of people in office we want to help push forward our agendas, particularly reparations. I thought that was very interesting. And he said something about, he said, you ain't getting in no video today with your connection. Hey, I you know, I don't have any control over that. You know what I mean? But
let's pull it up, because
hopefully,
yeah, and you have a delay.
You want to see it?
Yeah, let's pull it up. I think you got a little, like maybe 5 or 6 second delay as well. The second part of what we were going to do tonight was talk about Sister Tamara Shirley a little bit, Tamara Johnson Shirley, and the campaign that she's running, which is why we had this video up and wanted to pull this video up in the first place. Brother Logic couldn't make it on tonight, but we're gonna just play this video and we'll probably touch on that another time. Let me just update the family that this Thursday we're gonna have Sister Angela Nirvana on from ADOS SoCal. And this Saturday, we're going to have another discussion with the BTP youth. My daughter and her friends from her school. I thought that was a very, very powerful discussion that we had last week. Just a lot of people in their neighborhood, the mothers, the grandmothers, fathers, people, their whole family, they loved it. So we're trying to get 10 copies of From Here to Equality for the youth, for the BTP youth, because we're going to grow out young reparationists. It's time for us to move this thing into a whole nother direction so that by the time they do go back to school, the things that they were complaining about on the panel, insofar as being taught little to nothing about anything relevant that moves them forward in this world, they will have answers to. They'll be able to sit their teachers down and be like, let us teach this class. So let's bring this video up.
Yeah. So let me just say, if you can hear me, hold on, let me move this thing.
You hit the sound button, because you know I always forget to do that.
Yeah. I put it on, but so basically, what it is Ice Cube wound up bringing up the issue of reparations, and Tiffany Haddish asked the question, why is it that the Japanese Americans was able to get it and we couldn't, right? And so Byron Allen answers her question. So let me know when you're ready, and I'll hit play.
It's up.
So let me real quick to you. Why did they get reparations? We didn't get that. Well, real simple. But here's what happens. You know, we have the power, right? When you
Videos. Oh, what the heck happened? Hold on. Let me try it again. I know where it's at. So let me just put on. Yeah, this is a good video in terms of answering some of the criticisms about spending money with candidates, whether we can or should. Let me know if you can hit it. I'm gonna try it again.
All right, Dr. Leely's getting on it.
That's another issue. It's economics too.
Huh? She's getting on me?
Yeah, she said, I'm trying not to laugh.
I'm just gonna play it here. So yeah, well, let me just play it. Let me know if you can hear it.
Yeah, I hear it.
Why didn't they get reparations? We didn't get that. Okay, real simple. Here's what happens. You know, we have the power, right? When you vote, and really, if you really lean in and donate money, when you donate money to politicians, and you're controlling the narrative as to who becomes, who gets into power, you start to get what you want. You have to really think about the fact Andrew Gillum almost became governor of Florida, which we desperately need to provide the pressure. He lost by half a point. But we, as Black people, have to say, hey, here's $10 million from Black people. You know, that's $1 million Black people sitting in $10. We could have had Stacey Abrams, the first Black female governor in America, and the governor of Georgia. She lost by half. She lost by a little bit better than a point as well. You have to lean in and donate. I want to share something with you real quick. Why this is so important. Trump won Florida by 113,000 votes. In Miami, 379,000 Black people did not vote. Okay? In Michigan, I'm from Detroit. Trump won Michigan by 11,000 votes. In Detroit, half of my family, 277,000 Black people didn't vote. Okay? Trump won Michigan by 11,000. Trump in Pennsylvania won by 44,000 votes. In Philadelphia, 238,000 Black people didn't vote. And here's the last one. Trump won Georgia by 211,000 votes. In Atlanta, 530,000 Black people didn't vote. Black America. And when we lean in, we get it done. Now, if we vote the way we should vote and we donate money, politicians will address your agenda. And if your agenda is economic inclusion and healthcare and reparations, they will get it done. Because what politicians will say, I am not pissing off Black people. They donate money and they vote. That's when it gets fixed. Look at what I—
So is that what the Japanese did?
Unmute, Ali.
Were you able to hear that?
Oh yeah. I mean, come on, man. But you know, we was going to touch on it tonight. I kind of want to wait till after the election, but whatever you got to break down, I want you to after the election, because what Byron Allen said there. Go ahead, Ali.
No, I just wanted people to see that, because I know that it's been an issue in terms of donating money, and you know, he made an excellent point. He said if you can get 1 million Black people to donate $10 a piece, that's $10 million, right? It eases the burden on it eases the burden on one individual, right? So right. One individual doesn't have to give $3,000 or $5,000. But if Dr. Leely's funny, she said good job. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted that to be seen, you know, coming from Byron, because I know Byron is somebody that is respected in the ADOS community. And so in terms of what he had to say about donation and everything else, I thought it was important to add to the dialogue, you know. So definitely, that was it. We don't have to go too much further in on that.
Definitely. We can chill. Josh, did you want to add anything to that real quick? I mean, we ain't gonna go too in depth, but you know.
Nah. I understand. I think one of the key things that we can take away from that, and maybe what he was trying to express, is that, we're the only group that pretty much votes as a block. So, there's no other group that will vote all one way every single time, other than us. You look at other groups and they vote. White folks vote for Democrats, they vote for Republicans. It's Latinos. Even Biden said it. They may vote Democrat largely, but it's a lot. It's nowhere near close as amount. 90% going for us voting for Democrats. So if we were able to, because we vote as a block, a lot of times, if we were able to, it'd be easy to get us to donate or to put money towards, because like we have, the thing that I think is different about us is we're a monolith. Pretty much there's not a whole lot of a wealthy class. We really don't have that. It's pretty much just boomers who got a pension and a house. That's the majority of our people who have that are in the upper net worths, or whatever the case may be, and compare that to across the board, and they're still not even close. It's nowhere close to being comparative in wealth levels. So yeah, I see what he's saying as far as it, because we all like it's all one common issue that we can agree on, which is reparations and improving the wealth levels and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be easier for us to get behind one, and support candidates that support that issue. Yeah, but I will say, again, when we're talking about raising money, it has to be like a massive campaign internally, so that we all know. And I wish we had the media networks, Brother Byron Allen. Hey man, maybe that's something that you should go ahead and fund. Let us know which candidates we need to, all black folks need to be donating money to. That would be helpful.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was listening to Charlemagne. He was replaying a clip from Lindsey Graham. The last time I was on, I kept saying Mitch McConnell. Both of them are like double-headed snakes. I always get their names confused. But that's when Lindsey Graham said that you can go anywhere in South Carolina just so long as you're a conservative. Charlemagne played that clip about 5, 6, maybe even 7 times back to back. And then he had Jamie Harrison on, which is the brother. I believe that brother is ADOS that's running against. He is right against Lindsey Graham out in South Carolina. And they asked him a bunch of questions. And one of the things that Charlemagne asked Jamie Harrison was, let the people know how they can support you. He didn't he wasn't specific, and said, let the people know how they can support you from South Carolina. No, how can these people from all over the country support you? Because I'm pretty certain if you do a color of wealth report in South Carolina, them numbers are going to be grim for our people, for America's descendants of slavery. Mm-hmm. So it was said, and I believe Josh had brought this to our attention earlier, that Jamie Harrison's fundraising efforts was the largest by any candidate in South Carolina's history, which means those donations came from all over the country. They came from average people to whatever PACs that are formed on the Democratic side, to whatever corporations that just want to get the Republicans out of power. Who knows? Because not a lot of corporations want to get the Republicans out of power. They love when the Republicans are in power, and they love Democrats like Joe Biden, who's a moderate centrist, because he's basically a blue Republican. But I mean, and we're going to get deeper into that after the election. We have our brother Logic on. Our brother Otis said excess of 60 million. Damn, that's probably more than what South Carolina ADOS is worth in the whole state of state of SC, right? So, I don't know. We coming up on 2 hours here. If y'all have anything else that y'all wanted to add on, y'all speak it. And we could close.
Go ahead, Ali.
I'm straight. I think that I think we really, that whole reparations thing, I don't think we really need to go no further into that. I think we made the point, you know what I mean? In my opinion, people actually have conceded as far as I'm concerned, because everything that came was really just made up. People making up stuff on the fly and everything else. So I don't think we need to go any further into that. In terms of any kind of breakdown on the election, like you said, we're gonna wait until after, to go any further. So I'm good, bro.
Brother Josh.
Yeah, man. I wanted to close by reading something. I had to get on my laptop real quick. Let me hop in on my laptop. Hold up.
I don't know. I'm not sure, Dr. Lily. I think my brother has something going on. Brother Logic got something going on tonight.
All right, I'm going to share this real quick.
It was Tron.
All right, cool. Let me know when y'all can see it.
Peace, Nick. Peace, Nick. Thanks, ADOS NC. Thanks, Philip.
Peace. Shout out to my pops. I gotta always give a shout out to my pops, Forever God Wallace. He watches every episode of BTP, so I gotta give a shout out. Peace to the God. Peace, God.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Oh, damn. Wow. My bad. I forgot to pull it up.
Yeah.
Bad, bro.
Yeah. I want to close out with this right here. This is James Redpath. He's reading from book. This is what we were looking for before. He was writing a book about I think he was detailing John Brown. But in this book, he says, I am an abolitionist and something more. I am in favor not only of abolishing the curse, but making reparation for the crime. Not an abolitionist only, but a reparationist. The Negroes I hold have not merely the inalienable right to be free, but the legal right of compensation for their hitherto unrequited services to the South. Man, I ain't never seen that word before. Okay. I more than agree with the disunion abolitionists. They are in favor of a free Northern Republic. So am I. But as to boundary lines, we differ. While they would fix the southern boundary of their free republic at the Okay, cool. Here's the part that I like to see right here. Not an abolitionist only, but a reparationist. What did he essentially say? He essentially said, I am a reparationist. So that's why hey, look, man.
That's right.
This thing is deep rooted in
and take note. Take note that he called slavery a curse.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about curses on our show, dealing with hoodoo and Islamism and all of that. We were talking about curses. A lot of people didn't want to hear that, but it's very interesting that this man, if you could pull it up so they could see it again, Naheem, just so that they know what we're talking about. This man who wrote this particular piece, he called it a curse. And we were, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I am an abolitionist and something more. I am in favor not only of abolishing the curse, but making reparation for the crime. Not an abolitionist only, but a reparationist. The Negroes I hold have not merely the inalienable right to be free, but the legal right of compensation for their hitherto unrequited services to the South. So, you know, and this goes back to what Jam was saying earlier about African, you know, being a descendant of Africans. Look, we descend from Africans, right? But we're looking at it in a broad, contextualized framework. It's just, it is what it is. We descend from Africa. But to understand why this specific terminology came about, you have to go and look at what's being said and not chalking everything up to xenophobia. Because this is what happened with me. The first time I heard it was the brother from South Carolina. He was like, you heard of the ADOS movement? I said, I've been seeing that hashtag. I was like, what is it? He was like, I forgot what he said. And I was like, African descendants of slavery? I was like, oh, that's a fad. I'm not getting involved with none of that stuff. And he was like, no, it's American descendants of slavery. Or slaves, I think he said. I don't know if he had it correct at first. I got schooled once I start listening to Brother Wu Jiao and them go on Garfield and them platform, which seemed to turn out to be fruitless conversations now that I look back on it. But once you just stop for a minute and breathe and read and analyze, you're going to come to the same conclusions that we did. It's just as simple as that. You know, we had our low moment, of course, but it is what it is. It's bumping the road. So
can I say one more thing before you close?
Go ahead, brother.
And I wanted to say also, man, you should probably narrate an Audible book or something, because you read that way more powerful than I read it. But I wanted to say, you know, when people say, well, what about descendants of Africans enslaved in America? See, and you think that's more specific? Because we already know that most Europeans can trace their ancestry to somewhere in Africa. So if you're going to talk about 400 years ago, 300 years ago, what's to stop somebody from going and talk about 3,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago, 300,000 years ago? You know, that's we're specific because we're talking about America, and that starts in 1776. That's so I just wanted to, for anybody who didn't understand that, or that may have been swayed by saying descendants of Africans enslaved in America. Yeah, well, Europeans are descendants. Most people, the same enslavers were descendants of Africans too. So that's not no specificity. But go ahead, bro. I just had to mention that.
Oh no, definitely. Ali, did you were trying to say something, bro?
No, I was agreeing with what he's saying. You know, he's absolutely correct. I agree 100%.
All right, I'm gonna close out. I want to blow the screen up. I'm studying this book, and I love this book right here, man. We're about to contribute to what we're calling the Reparationist papers this month for the January edition. So I do want to say some things, because you know, I listen and I hear what people say, and I remember when Gregory Meeks, y'all heard me tell this story before, but it's a point I want to make with it. I was talking to one of my bros. It was a couple of us there, and I was going in like, yo, these politicians always coming around here. And I was just start going in, and my bro was like, you gonna say that to him? And he come over here, and I looked at my dude, and I was like, since when have you known me to bite my tongue? I'll say anything to anybody that comes, especially if there's a problem. I'm gonna walk right up to you and say exactly what I gotta say, because I'm just cut from that type of rare cloth. So in my organization, we have a specific, or the organization I used to be a part of, it's what helped shape me in these days and times. And we have these specific teachings. I'm gonna talk about them, right? It says, a superstitious people are the Jews. They have a faith that they have borrowed from the idol worshippers of other lands. And when we talk about the Jews, this is in reference to Prophet Isa, or whom you may know as Jesus. This is the crucifixion. And our little pamphlet called the Circle 7 is the missing 18 years of Jesus. Let me start over. I want to contextualize that before I continue. It says a superstitious people are the Jews. They have a faith that they have borrowed from the idol worshippers of other lands, that at the end of every year, they may heap all of their sins upon the head of some man set apart to bear their sins. The man becomes a scapegoat for the multitudes. And they believe that when they drive him forth into the wilds or into foreign lands, they are released from sins. So every spring before the feast, they chose a prisoner from the prisons of the land. And by a form their own, they fain would make him bear their sins away. Because, like I said, I'll listen intently. And, you know, Scarface said in that movie Scarface, Al Pacino's character, he said, you need a bad guy like me. You need somebody to point your finger at. Because that's the way you hide from yourself, hide from your own issues. I'm paraphrasing, of course. In my teachings, we also teach that Allah or God, whatever name you choose, is the highest self in man, and that if man will find his devil, that he must look within, because the name of devil is called the self. The devil, our lower selves, seeks an adversary, because the devil is adversarial by nature. The devil's nature that is within man seeks to deflect the fact that it is the bad guy by finding one or maybe even a handful of people to point its arrows and its ire at. Whether you follow the Bible, the Quran, etc., we see it play out in the narratives of Prophet Isa, Prophet Jesus. Only love can defeat this devil that is the lower self and all of its emanations. And this love must be manifest in the work that you do. Most people love to follow and not to lead. You see, we are leaders over here. We are leaders over here. Every last one of us. My lessons teach that those who stand upon the corners of the path and point a certain way and tell others to go that way, but do not follow, are just pointers, and blocks of wood can do the same. We also teach that if man would know, he must be that which he knows. And this is why we are doing what it is that we're doing here on Be the Power, because this is what we know. We know about becoming the power in several different arenas. Many of us have been a part of several different organizations, so we understand structure, etc., etc. And as we push forward in hopes of closing the chapter on any disagreements, and maybe they may arise again, but if we can't have the conversations about it, then it's something more than what it is. Because I see all of the darts and the little arrows and the shots, and I'm like, ping, 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 because you might get accused of having the gasoline can while you was trying to put the fire out with the bucket of water that you held in the first place. Period. And then when you just let the thing burn, you get falsely accused by those that get to control the narrative. But nobody controls the narrative here. And we're going to always speak our truth. And we're not going to let anybody try to play us in that regard. We have work to do. And our track record as Be the Power is evident, not just on this channel, but on other channels, from Sarnetta to the Dagger Squad. It's proven. We're not trying to be beefing with nobody outside of those who are against reparations. If you are against reparations, you're the enemy. And that's the way I look at it. Point blank, period. So stay tuned. We're going to have Sister Angela Nirvana.
Interesting, bro.
Go ahead, brother.
You know what was interesting? That JAM actually came on, even though she was in disagreement with us. he actually came on to have that exchange where other people, as opposed to actually having the exchange with us directly, would rather do something else more nefarious, man. And that's a shame. That's a shame, especially when we all supposed to be rocking together. You know what I'm saying? That somebody that you would consider an outsider would be willing to come and say, yo, I'm gonna come in and talk to them, even though I disagree with them. You know what I mean? I'm gonna come and talk with them. I'm gonna come right to their thing and talk to them and tell them what it is that I feel, whatever. And it worked out all right, man. It really wasn't all that critical.
That's right.
You know,
we didn't open this door. I just want to say, we didn't open this door. I peeped what Jam was trying to do on the Twitter thread. You specifically unblocked me. Come on, we know who you're trying to get at and trying to get to make some screenshots to share. That's why my tweet, in one of my tweets, I said, I see what you're doing and it's making me chuckle, laugh out loud. We didn't open this door. Just didn't. But we're not going to let nobody come in and still try to drive a wedge. It's an infight. It's an infight. And some things were spoken publicly, and we grown, we adults. We can speak to it publicly, and we can speak to it privately as well. You know, that was always my hopes, to be honest with you, because we had tried that already. And, you know, like I was saying, we're going to have Sister Angela Nirvana on this Thursday. Saturday, we're going to have the BTP youth on. We're going to bring Sister Tamara back on one of these days. You know, we're going to keep up. We got 2 days left, 22, 21 days for the election. We're going to keep up our Keeping Up with Tamara series going up until the election. And I do want to say that the campaign that Sister Tamara is running can't be compared to nobody else's campaign. I actually am proud of that, to be honest with you. Again, let me leave y'all with the motto of this platform, and that is, don't just fight the power, become the power. Then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.